One of the biggest names in the history of this league just opened his mouth and, without even realizing it, handed us the most honest explanation we've ever heard for the most controversial decision of the Eagles' offseason, my friend. It wasn't Howie Roseman. It wasn't Nick Sirianni. It wasn't anyone inside the Jefferson Health Training Complex. It was a legend who spent 23 years living alongside the most explosive egos that American football has ever produced, and who decided to compare the wide receiver position to a gossip reality show. It sounds like a joke, but once you understand what's behind that line, you realize it dismantles the entire soap opera that dominated Philadelphia over the past few months. If you're a diehard Eagles fan, hit that like button right now and subscribe to the channel, because this breakdown is going to show you exactly why the front office made the decision to trade one of the most talented receivers in the NFL, and why, looking at it from this angle, it may have been the smartest move of them all. This is one of those stories that changes the way you see the entire locker room. Let me set the scene for you. The Eagles' offense was completely reshaped this offseason, with a new offensive coordinator, a new scheme, and a completely different way of distributing the ball. In the middle of all of that, the team parted ways with a star who had helped the franchise reach 2 Super Bowls. And it was right there, in the middle of all that dust, that Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, dropped a line that landed like a bomb. He compared NFL wide receivers to the Real Housewives, those housewives from the American gossip television shows. And the piece that fits that comparison perfectly goes by the name of A.J. Brown. Brady was asked about the soap opera involving Jalen Hurts and Brown, and his answer was pure gold. He said, in no uncertain terms, that it was a straight-up feeling of déjà vu, that he's been seeing the same stuff since the year 2000, when he came into the league. It's like the Real Housewives of the NFL, he tossed out. And Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce burst out laughing. But you know what the deal is? He didn't stop at the joke. He went deep, and he broke down the psychology of that position in a way every Eagles fan needed to hear. Think about Brady's career for a second. This man played with Randy Moss, with Antonio Brown, with Julian Edelman, and with a dozen other big-name receivers across 2 decades. He saw the ego, he saw the volatility, he saw the emotional roller coaster up close, firsthand. So when he explains what it's like to manage a wide receiver's mind, you stop and you listen. And what he described is the exact portrait of what happened in Philadelphia. Brady laid it out pretty clearly. He said a great receiver is going to catch around 110 balls over 17 games. In one game, he gets 11 targets. In the next one, he gets 3. And in the game after that, he's probably back to 11. The problem, according to Brady himself, is that you can't have a guy who's the happiest person in the world after a game with 11 targets, and the most miserable player on the entire team after a game with 3. Do you understand the difference? You have to sustain that balance over the course of an entire season. You can't live off emotional swings. And then Brady touched on a point that almost nobody notices. He talked about the emotional energy a quarterback spends just to keep that position stable. The constant conversation, the, come on, stay locked in, I need you, let's go together. The receiver is the only position on the field where you can go 3 entire quarters without touching the ball a single time. The offensive line is involved in every single play. The running back is involved in almost all of them. But a receiver? He can run 25 routes and see the ball twice and a half. And if the mental foundation isn't solid there, that volatility turns into frustration for sure. Now connect that with what went down with A.J. Brown last season. It was exactly that movie. An immensely talented guy, a 3-time Pro Bowl selection, who had a campaign of more than 1,000 yards, but who carried his frustration written all over his face the entire year. It was the social media posts. It was the irritation with his role in the offense. It was the public complaints about the lack of the ball. There was even that vent on a live stream. And in the end, his time in Philadelphia ended in a wild card loss to the 49ers, in a game where he dropped 3 passes and even got into an argument with Nick Sirianni on the sideline. Is it or is it not the perfect portrait of what Brady described? And the numbers from last season reinforce that portrait. Even frustrated, A.J. Brown still delivered 78 receptions, more than 1,000 yards, and 7 touchdowns in 2025. But it was the lowest yards per catch average of his career, just 12.9, his worst number since his Tennessee days. And there's the detail that explains all the irritation. In Philadelphia, this player got used to receiving an average of 130 targets per season, and even set the franchise record for receptions in a single campaign. When that volume of the ball disappears, the mind of a receiver of that caliber simply doesn't accept it. It's the emotional roller coaster that Brady described, only now with a first name, a last name, and numbers on the stat sheet. And here is where things get really heavy, because A.J. Brown isn't a rookie trying to establish himself. He's a Super Bowl champion. He was paid like one of the best receivers in football. He had playoff runs, he had Pro Bowl seasons, and he had a front office that bent over backward several times to keep him happy. So what should his focus be? Coming back and winning again. Not the targets, not the touches, not whether the offense ran through him on a random Sunday in October. If the real goal is to lift another trophy, individual stats can't weigh more than that. It's that simple. Brady lived that philosophy for 23 years. He accepted pay cuts, he renegotiated contracts, he kept volatile receivers in line, all because the mission was always the same: win the Super Bowl. That's the standard. And that's where his comparison stops being a joke and becomes an uncomfortable mirror. If A.J. Brown spirals after 3 quarters without seeing the ball, then maybe the Eagles getting out in front and moving early was, in the end, the right decision. And look, the numbers from the breakup are revealing. The trade was closed right after June 1st, precisely to split the financial impact. Philadelphia received a first-round pick in 2028 and a fifth-round pick in 2027 to let Brown go to the Patriots. Keep in mind that the Eagles had brought this same player in back in 2022, handing over the number 18 pick and a third-round pick to the Titans. In other words, it was an entire cycle that started in euphoria and ended in wear and tear. And there's still the dead money on the salary cap, split between the next 2 years. A heavy bill the front office chose to swallow to turn this page for good. But the front office didn't sit still, and that's what gives context to the decision. Devonta Smith now takes over as the offense's top target, and the coaching staff believes he can shine in a number 1 role. The team moved up in the draft to grab receiver Mekhi Lemon out of USC, brought in Marquise Brown, traded for Dontavion Wicks, and also added Samori Toure. Add to that the new offensive coordinator, Sean Mannion, who arrives with a scheme far more based on timing and on designing plays to get players open. The central idea is to distribute the targets more evenly, instead of depending on a single man winning every one-on-one matchup. Do you see how it all connects? The entire system was built precisely to avoid the kind of emotional dependency that Brady described. Now, to be fair and transparent, there is the other side of this coin, and it's real. A.J. Brown is still one of the most talented receivers in the entire league. He was a yardage machine in Philadelphia, holder of the record for receptions in a single season in franchise history, a guy who always drew double coverage and still delivered. Replacing that kind of production isn't easy, and it would be naive to pretend his absence won't be felt at some point during the season. Talent at that level doesn't grow on trees. The Eagles' bet is that the collective and the new scheme make up for that individual loss. Will it work? Nobody has that answer yet. And that's exactly why Brady's words are so powerful. Because it's not the opinion of just any commentator behind a microphone. It's the read of someone who lived alongside that kind of personality his entire career and knows, in practice, what separates a championship team from a team that drowns in its own soap opera. Talent without the right mentality only takes you so far. After that, either you have the head to win, or you become just another episode of the reality show. So I want to know your opinion. Taking into account the absurd talent of A.J. Brown, the dead money the Eagles swallowed, and the bet on a more collective offense with Sean Mannion, do you think Philadelphia got it right by moving early and trading the star, or will they regret it when the ball starts rolling in September? Did Brady's read convince you, or do you think they lost too much talent? Leave it in the comments. I really want to read what you think. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back later to update you with the latest Eagles news.